Welcome back to the Two Promises podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the best, most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team sends their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for that masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth, smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
Okay, here we are. Welcome back to the Two Promises podcast. This is BD. We are on the BD Bobber, and we have a special guest. We have Captain Jack Falkenstein. Did I say that right? Falkenstein.
Yeah.
See, I'm just awful with my pronunciation a lot of times. Could you say it again?
Falkenstein.
Love it. Love it. It reminds me of how I met Jack and kind of our relationship. I came back from my 7th deployment. It was just kind of mentally chaotic for me, and I was just in this not the best place in my life. And I've been struggling with depression for a long time, and I started I hit that bottom part, I hit that kind of like rock bottom part where it's like even more than rock bottom because you're disgusted with yourself and you're like, really? Is this really how you do that? So then that's when you start your slow climb out, right? So I was doing that, and I was doing my slow climb out and just kind of like baby stepping out. And that's my cycle. I don't know. Everybody might be a little bit different, but that's me. And so I'm working my way out, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to get my shit together. My life didn't work out the way I expected it to, but let's get started again. If you've been following me, if you've been listening to my earlier podcasts, then you know that journey, you know that experience. So I'm not going to kind of take you back down that. But that's when I met Jack. My thing was, I was just doing a wooden table project on my boat. So if I want to start making my boat better, beautifying my boat, and kind of respecting my boat more, where do I want to start? And I wanted to start on the woodwork, and it was probably the worst place to start once I got into the project, but that's kind of how I am, and that's another thing I've learned about myself and I've given myself grace in this year is if I know that's the way I do it, then just embrace it instead of beating myself up about it and not finishing the project. So I just kept going, but I could not have done it without Jack. So I'd ask a different buddy who I'd seen do woodwork with before, and he said he'd do it, but then once he got to thinking, he's like, no, you need somebody who's going to be there every day because he knew me. He knew what I needed at the time because he knew me so well because he a frequent regular at Point Break, a bar or a restaurant. They've actually got a liquor license now, but a restaurant, cafe, pub, like right down the road. Anyway, long story short, he's like, let me introduce you to a friend of mine. He does some really great work. He's working on another boat right across the street. Anytime, if you're here in the morning, if you're stopping in for coffee, if you give us a heads up, he can come over and meet you. And it's like, oh, you don't need to go through all that. If he says he's willing to help me out, I'm happy to take him. He's like, no, meet him first. And so that's how I met Jack.
Yeah.
And I mean, he really did. He kept me on task with this, and he's got a wealth of knowledge, decades of experience in the maritime industry. And he was also very patient with me in my struggle kind of with myself and with my environment as I was kind of growing through coming to terms with the fact that it's time for me to make a few lifestyle changes to be healthier, and a lot of that's career related. But I had to start with myself first and with my home first. So thank you, Jack, for being a part of that and for being like a huge part of me kind of getting out of that depression and, getting my life back on a more positive note so thanks. Thank you very much.
Man, thank you. That's quite an introduction.
Yeah, but it's true.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for real.
I appreciate it. You're a great guy, man.
I appreciate it. So
you've done some positive things for me,
Yeah.
I told you after, working with you for a few weeks that I wanted to make some, positive changes in my life and live a little healthier and, I wanted to start working out.
Yeah, you said you were a smoker.
Yeah.
But you wanted to run.
But I wanted to run.
Yeah.
So we went for a run.
We went for a run. And running's not my favorite form of exercise for anybody that knows me. I'll do it, but it's just like one of those things that it's like, I think in that time I was having was I having high energy spikes at that time, or was that a little bit later?
That was
later.
That was before.
That was before. Okay. So that was while I was still just kind of like probably really trying to get back into a rhythm myself.
Before you kind of, it was a month or so before, you really figured out that you're not happy.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yep. So it was through this process of him working with me and us working together on the woodwork, re-varnishing the woodwork. And if anybody is familiar with varnishing or any type of bright work, woodwork on boats, it is or even not on boats. Like if you do a project at your home that's like for real, holy cannoli, you will find places within your soul that you did not know were there. So that's how
tedious work.
That is how Captain Jack met BD, who just came back from his 7th Special Operations deployment and was just like anxiety out as all get out and depressed as all get out. So we went on this kind of fitness journey together. And I had already started a few things because I was doing some lifestyle tweaks.
Right.
Around
that time. That's why
I'd
seen you working out on the dial. I'm like, oh man, I want to,
And I probably wasn't in like my most consistent mode, but I was like kind of hitting my stride again. I was feeling confident, feeling good.
Right.
But a lot of it was I've tried a lot of different workout regimes, a lot of different dietary trends or lifestyles or whatever you want to call them. And I was like, well, why didn't they work for me? What were the things that were not functioning? And I just started saying, well, what could work for me if my lifestyle continues?
Right.
If I keep deploying, if I keep upsetting myself and just living in different weird countries and environments. And I just started with the intermittent fasting and just being a little bit more active every day. Those were my first like stepping stones. I just would only eat from 2 and like 10 p.m., 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. and just do something a little bit more active than my whatever sedentary level of life I was, or non-sedentary. So if you're already an athlete, and you're just wanting to go to another level, just try a couple of these tips.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you wanted to stop smoking, and then you started doing the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And then we started doing other things other than running together.
Yeah. It got a little bit more intense.
You want to talk about the progression from your point of view?
Well, I don't know. I thought I did all right for the run for a guy that's...
Great. He did great. Go ahead.
For a guy that smoked for the last 30 years, of my life. I don't know. It was a couple mile run we did. Mile and a half, whatever it was.
Yeah, about mile and a half, 2 miles.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, I thought I did all right.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's fast. Absolutely. Sprinter.
I mean,
but like that was just us, just kind of like getting to know each other and getting to know this like running and seeing how far who wanted to go and why. I was like, well, I've run this a couple times. If you want to run that way, yeah, cool, sure. And it was fun. And then I was like, well, what I've been kind of doing is because then I started just working out some, I don't know, anxiety issues, anger issues, whatever, with like some other workouts, and I started like doing this medicine ball workout, and I kept trying to get Jack to do it with me. But I mean, it is a grind. It's like a freaking grueling, like I was going like 2 miles sometimes. I can't remember, maybe 1.75 miles. I think 1.75 miles, around there. But basically you take a 20-pound medicine ball and you just work through a series of throws, vertical throws and lateral throws, exercising different parts of your body. So you'll do a squat thruster motion. You'll do like a soccer throwing a ball in from out of bounds. You'll do like a basketball chest pass, and then you'll do like a shot put, almost oblique pass on both sides. And you know what? Sometimes there's some creative liberties. So I was doing that just to kind of work on technique and form and just kind of really do an all-body workout that would just really grind me down and kind of help work some of those parasympathetic ends. Something that was like a long, slow distance type thing, but also let me just kind of let a bunch of stuff out. So finally, Jack started doing it with me. And I was stoked because that meant I had to do less throws to cover the same distance.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself in the last 20 years. I feel great, man. And I want to do it. I get up every morning and I want to do it. And the days I don't do it, I'm like, fuck, I should have done it today. Just because it's such a stress reliever, but I feel so good afterwards.
And it's just a hard reset, and you're just like, boom. And you hit all those, like, endorphin, dopamine, like, all those positive things that you get from, like, those runner's highs or whatever you might have, like, heard about in literature and stuff, or media. And it's true, like, but it was honestly, for me, it was just taking very small steps and just letting those steps get bigger as I felt like I wanted to take bigger steps. I didn't sit there and say, all right, for this time, I didn't say, I want to deadlift 435 pounds. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I just said, well, I just want to be healthier, and I want to, be mentally healthier and physically healthier, and how am I going to do it? I'm going to start eating differently. I didn't say I can't eat cheeseburgers. Right. I just said I'm only going to eat between these hours, and I'm going to try to reduce sugars and carbohydrates as much as I possibly can. Try to make it as simple as possible, because my brain doesn't do well with complexity.
Right. And I've kind of gone to that.
So that's how we met, and right now, I don't know if I got to talk about our delicious beverages, but just in case, because I am a bourbon fella, we have You having a sip of it there?
Yep. It is the Broken Barrel Whiskey Company, and it's the California Oak, 88 proof.
Nice.
Delicious.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a delicious bottle, and I think that is the first batch. So that's the first batch bottle that I've gotten to have from this company. And I think their Cask of Amontillado is, I think, just a special reserve, and I think the other one was a fifth batch. But I have been enjoying their products. So I would like for you, if you don't mind, just sharing me with myself and our listeners a little bit more about your personal history, now that you've gotten to know us.
So at 17 and a half years old, I moved to Alaska and ended up fishing in the Bering Sea for about 4 years. And to tell you the truth, when I was 21, I felt like I was about 61. I mean, the hours and everything else was just miserable. But, the weather was shit. It was never good. It was always, 30-foot, 20-foot seas.
20-foot seas. And tell me about, what's that feel like on the boat that you were in? As you're, working the decks, what kind of projects did you have to do on the decks? And how did it feel like? Paint that story for the listeners. What's that adventure life look like when you left home at 17 and you just well, I'm going to become freaking a fisherman because I don't like this life that I've been living.
Right. Well, we're pulling up 100 tons of fish at a time. It's a net the size of a double-decker bus full of fish.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's hard to picture.
That's the only way I can describe it.
No, that's
that
incredible
big around, and it's just incredible.
How many tons?
150 tons.
Wow. What kind of fish usually?
Pollock. We were fishing pollock at the time. Yeah. It was a great time in my life. I was young, dumb, and,
Yeah. Just ready to see the world. So you're just let's haul up 150 tons of freaking pollock at a time.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, it was...
Whenever you were doing the hauls, were the sea conditions, what were they normally like? If you were doing, a big haul, would you time it for, a good...
No. Sometimes you're pulling 100 tons of fish in every 45 minutes.
Wow.
When the fishing's good.
Wow.
I mean, the boat held 400 tons of fish.
Wow.
So
how many days would you be out at sea usually?
For a trip?
Yeah.
Fishing was good, 10 days. We'd
go out for 10 days at a time.
5,000 ton fish hold in 10 days.
Wow. Were you just working alone, or were you with a fleet of boats and you'd kind of help each other work together?
No. It was just our boat. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. But there's other boats around.
And in a given season, how long's a season?
Well, for that kind of fishing, it's you basically work 6 months out of the year.
6 months. Okay.
There's an A season, which is in January and February, and that's when you get the roe from the fish, which is the most valuable season. That's when you make the most money, and it's a 2-month season. And then in March, you fish hake off Oregon and Washington coast, California.
Okay. All right.
And then you go
back. That's
a
lot of variety.
And then you go back up for a B season.
So but let's just talk about one of your normal trips. I want to see a day in the life of Captain Jack, seafarer.
Lately,
you got a 10-day cruise. You got a 10-day cruise to go haul in. No, just listen. You got a 10-day cruise to haul in as much fish as you can. How much time off do you have after that?
Nothing.
You just turn right back around?
No, you
drop off the fish?
You spend 32 hours offloading all that product.
And then back out to sea?
And then back out to sea.
How long does that last? That cycle, that schedule.
2 months.
10, 2 months.
3 months. There's a 3-month season.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months straight.
3 months.
3 months straight.
Yeah.
And how much sleep would you get in a given day?
4 hours.
So you get a 4-hour sleep. Was that together, or is that just naps here and there?
Sometimes, when we finish an offload and we leave port, usually a day and a half, 2 days steam to where we're fishing. So we get
that's when you
18 hours of you can sleep.
Downtime.
Right.
Okay,
But
so
once
that's
you-
like
once
you can
the work
start doing some
starts,
repair stuff,
once
getting
the-
your own stuff. Okay,
once the
so you
work-
got 2 days to get into position,
Right.
and then what?
And then once you get in position, it's fucking it's full blast until it's not. Until it's
you're
until
24
it's full,
hours a day.
Until it's full. Yeah.
You're on call,
Around the
on
clock.
deck,
Round the
round the
clock.
clock.
Round the clock.
How many people were crew on the ship? Approximately. You don't have to be.
150.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're from all over the world. This is one of the greatest experiences of my life. Is I got
Wow.
to work with people from all different cultures and experience all this stuff at a young age. You know, it was
That's
awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's like hard work. You learned a lot of skills. If you could just maybe sum up like 2, 3, however many skills, what are some like really good skills that you feel like you got out of that experience that are still with you today,
Skills? Oh well.
or learning things like
Engineering.
nuggets, whatever you want to, like a practical thing that our listeners, our leaders and our listeners can grab onto and say, oh cool, that's a fishing man's experience, that's a freaking nautical pirating man's experience, but I can apply that in my day-to-day life. You already said one,
Well,
which was don't quit, right?
right.
So tell me, like,
I mean-
or even just like a knot tying thing, or just, tell me a skill you learned there, like.
Oh
the-
well, I mean,
Still
what
today.
I learned, and that I learned that I can push myself further than I ever thought I could.
Excellent. And how did you learn that? What did that look like?
It looked like, we're in Dutch Harbor, we're offloading the boat, because we're full, so we come in and we offload it, and we have breakdowns for like 18 hours. So you work for like 2 hours, and then you have a breakdown, and then you go back to, and then like 10 minutes later they got it fixed, and you go back to work, and so it's like, basically a 48-hour offload, and it's no sleep.
And then maintenance,
It's
then
just-
nothing,
it's just-
then
yeah,
back in.
right, it's
So it
just
sounds to me like
15
there
minutes.
was no break-in cycle for you. It was like, hey,
No.
get to work. This is
Yeah.
the way things run. This is the fishing industry.
You just
Keep up.
Yeah, keep up or get out.
Yeah.
That's basically how it was.
Awesome. I love it. So that's good deal. So you went to Alaska. You cut
And
your
I've-
teeth. You cut their teeth in like a school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
Rough living, but very fulfilling because you got to meet cultures. You got to be exposed to a lot of different people.
Yeah, it was
and then
great,
so
'cause
then
it
where,
kinda-
where did you go from there?
it
What
kinda-
was the next step?
That
Another
was the
big
great
step.
thing for me, I think, was having the best part of my Alaska experience was being exposed to other cultures and other ways of life, people that live differently.
And so you moved on to like some big mega yachts. You did a lot
Yeah,
of stuff in
and-
Catalina and all that kind of stuff. And we've been sharing some
Absolutely.
stuff from Catalina and all that stuff. So you learned these things, School of Hard Knocks, and you classed yourself up. You went from 17, you got rugged, but you also got kind of refined there. You met a lot of different cultures. You were educated in a lot of different ways, even if it seemed very casual and just relationship-wise. Go
From
ahead.
a kid who came from the desert, yeah, man. And like, my friends are all Hispanic. I grew up 10 miles from the border. Like, I was a minority where I grew up. But that's like, to me, in my life, I want to see the world. I want to see all of it. I want to do it on a boat.
Same, for sure. On a boat,
I want to
yeah.
do it on a boat.
So
But
what's,
I love meeting new cultures and experiencing, like, just new ways of life and how people live differently, and to see happiness in people that have nothing. That is really one of the greatest things I've ever gotten from working on boats and traveling the world and stuff, is people that don't have, SUVs or big trucks or anything. They have a little shack for a house, but they're truly happy people, They don't
Absolutely.
need the material things. It's not about that. It's about life, and it's about how you live it and the people you live it with.
Absolutely. And we come from very similar backgrounds in that, like, all of those overseas experiences and getting to see just so many different cultures and how they've lived, and just how that we can bring a lot of that beauty and just mindset, mentality, and stuff like that literally everywhere. And we're just sowing and creating just a lot of sustainability, really, in our day-to-day lives and our personal mental health energy levels, because we kind of started the conversation with a little bit of that.
Right?
And so from that growth period that you went through, we were talking another time and on one of the other consulting projects I had,
Right.
you were telling me some stories about how you were able to work with some really big production companies on some other mega yachts and stuff like that. And tell any of these stories that you really want to tell, but you've told me some fascinating stories about some of these big boats that you've gotten to work on and projects and undertakings that you've led teams, educated teams, done safety inspections and training for. So tell me some of that.
Right,
Rugged and just freaking Yacht master.
Well, actually, it wasn't a mega yacht. Last year, I was up in Alaska and I was on a charter boat, and we had a National Geographic photography crew, and we did like the whole brown bears and orcas and humpbacks, just the whole inside pasture thing, and they filmed it all drones and
Sounds beautiful, man.
It was great, man. It was a fun time.
Man.
We had a good
Just
time.
Glaciers,
Yeah.
wildlife, moosing.
Yeah, bears. Yeah, it was great.
So cool.
It was a lot of fun.
So cool. That's awesome. Be able to interact with the crew, just let the wildlife photographers take the pictures of all this stuff, and you get to be a part of it, and you get paid to be there.
Right, and then of course we got pictures. We got all the pictures. We all got thumb drives at the end of it. So
that's
it's like,
so awesome.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's great. I got some great shots.
I believe
You'll probably see them in a magazine or on the internet someday.
That's so cool. The once in a lifetime experience.
Right.
And right now I feel like you're trying to create a lifestyle just really around just living in the moment kind of, and just being happy where you're at, and just
absolutely. I'm it could all go wrong at any minute.
Yeah.
But I can't let that define me, and I can't let that be what drags me down. You got to bounce back, and you got to get back up. And
absolutely. And another thing that you've spoke to me and you told me that kind of really resonated with me was just getting in your morning ritual. Do whatever you have to do in the morning. Like, get up early and do whatever you need to do, but find that ritual that kind of just sets the tone for your day. And you said, I do this, I do that. Like, I don't know what it looks like for you, but if you do this, your life will be better. And that was something that I really appreciated that you've been kind of on me about. And I know you said it to me multiple times because, my listeners and my family and everybody that kind of follows me knows that I'm pretty stubborn. But I'm really appreciative of that because I have been working on that. And, of course, I don't do it every day. But it's something that I am striving to improve and to do because I know when I do it, just like whenever you work out, I feel better. I perform better. I interact better with the people around me. And I'm less anxious and I respond more positively.
Right.
Because I took the time to get myself centered.
Right.
Before I jumped into the chaos.
Right.
So thank you for teaching me that and helping me reinforcing it and being patient with me.
What was it that I told you?
Just like, I get up, I read the paper, I drink coffee, and I just sit there and I just let myself settle and just enjoy.
That's my downtime, and then it's go.
Yeah.
And then it's go time.
Exactly.
But if I got to roll out of bed and go, I'm able to do it.
And I can too, but the thing is I'm trying to break that cycle.
I got it. I got you. I understand that. But I'm just saying that's just how my life on boats has always been. Like, you got to work. You got to, you get up and you go to work. As soon as you wake up, it's time to go to work. That's how you live, Like, it's like being a firefighter. When that bell rings, you throw the fucking gear on and you get out the door, It's the same lifestyle. It's just
on a topsy-turvy
on
sea.
a never-ending movement.
Yeah, right. Exciting. So, absolutely, we've had a little bit of talk about the offshore fishing. You had some fishing stories off of Catalina.
Oh yeah.
Because we think we mentioned it. We talked about, and I've really enjoyed like some of the Channel Islands. I got my boat actually up in Ventura County, at Channel Islands Harbor. And then some of the southern ones.
It's great. I used to work out of there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I worked on a boat out of there.
That's so cool. So our shared fun experiences in Catalina, and now you are in a startup company, right?
Yeah. I'm working with Dan Kohler, and we're doing San Diego Offshore. We're doing yacht management and, yacht deliveries.
Cool. That's awesome. So basically we have San Diego Offshore, and what I'm understanding is you're just like a one-stop shop. So you can get, boat handling training from certified captains. You can get captains for hire to just operate your vessel. You also do bow to stern maintenance, cleaning, or source the right management for those.
Absolutely.
Those things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So that sounds super awesome. Super great company, and I've known Captain Dan for years. Incredible guy, great work ethic, no nonsense guy whenever it comes to work and business, which I absolutely love and appreciate about him because that shows that he's very passionate about safety. He's passionate about good principles, good principle-based management, good values-based management. That's the kind of man that he is there at San Diego Offshore. So I just want to give a shout-out to them and also to Captain Jack. And I'd like to just let you wrap this up. If you have any final words for our listeners, thank you so much for being on here, by the way. But yeah, send it.
Yeah, well, if you can throw a medicine ball 1 3/4, 20-pounder, come on down and hang out.
Yeah, sounds fun. Yeah. Friggin' Shelter Island. We'll have the medicine ball throwing club.
Shit. Well, this might be a new video.
Right? Right?
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully and enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. A final note before you go: thank you. And thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for, so please sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth whiskey. No more